All right, welcome back, folks. We are proceeding to the second stage of Operation Dissonance. Now, this is the current situation of our regiment. So we did suffer quite a few losses amongst our platoons. So we're going to have to spend some operational authority to replenish our forces here. So let's just do that straight away. And we are at 133, which is a shame because what we really need, well, at least what I was aiming for, is to get the second level of the mechanized task force Tambov. That way, we can get the assault engineers. But we are short of about 17 points, so we're not going to be able to get that. So instead, we're just going to spend some extra operational authority on our other assets here. So deployment points straight off, that's always going to be useful. We still don't have enough to deploy everything in our roster, so let's get a few more in that department. Oh, I'm pretty sure we will also spend some to get more supplies because we're running a little bit low now. Uh, all of our wide flanking maneuvers and deep strike operations has taken a toll on our supply chain, so we're going to have to replenish a little bit of that. But first, we will buy some deployment points. Okay, and with just that, we are already maxed out on our deployment point costs. Our total regiment needs 725, and now we're at 725. That has taken about more than half of what we had at the beginning, so I'm quite happy with the tactical support that we have right now. The rate of income of our tactical points compared to the cooldown right now is like almost even, so we don't really need any more. We have enough to deploy both the artillery and the the smoke artillery and the heavy artillery barrage pretty frequent and often. That is completely adequate for now. I'm quite happy in that department. So I'm going to spend another 25 points to get some more supplies. Yeah, okay. And we're left with 33. That should be more than enough moving forward for the third stage, because in the third stage, we should have enough operational authority to get this mechanized task force, and we're going to need those assault engineers for the last stage, because we're going to have to lay siege to quite a lot of entrenched units. But for now, yeah, we're looking good. Quite happy with how everything is. Our core combatants are all veterans. Our 2 tank platoons and 2 mechanized infantry platoons, they're already vetted out. Our attack helicopters are also vetted out. I kind of want to get veterancy on the mortars, but it's a little bit hard because we usually just use them for suppressive fire. We shall see if we can get some kills in, because there's going to be a lot of entrenched infantry in this stage. So we shall see. Now the anti-air unit here is going to come into play in this stage because in this stage, the enemy does have a couple of attack helicopters at their disposal, so they have a few air assets. But usually, in my experience, it doesn't really warrant a hard counter like the Shilka. But as we've seen, the AI is somewhat dynamic in how they make their battle groups and how they deploy and how they counter attackers. So who knows? Maybe we might get some use out of it. But yeah, okay, let's go on to the cards. So we got rid of the neutral and negative modifiers, so we're left with two positive modifiers. And what I'm gonna go for is I'm gonna go for the divisional artillery, because what I'm aiming to do here is to finish this stage in this one phase. We're given 2 phases, I believe. Is it only one? Yeah, we are given 2 phases to complete this second stage. And in all of the lower difficulties, it is possible to finish this stage in the first phase. It's actually quite easy. However, on master difficulty, I haven't quite been able to do that. I've gotten very close twice, but I haven't been able to actually do it. So I'm going to try to do it in this run right here. So we're going to take the divisional artillery, get us more fire support. Hopefully that will help us blitz through the entire stage. So yeah, let's go. The main mission objective in this scenario is to get to the final point called to next stage that's in the far northeast corner. Now, if you notice, there are lines connecting all the points this time. So as I mentioned previously in the last stage, in this kind of scenario, you have to capture the points in a sequence. Otherwise, the game won't let you capture the point. You have to follow the lines and connect the dots, basically. So that's the main objective, northeast corner. We got to go all the way down this highway in the middle and try to get to the end. Now I'm going to try and do this stage in one phase. On this difficulty, I've never quite been able to accomplish that, but we're going to try once again, and you're going to see this attempt here. Now, unlike the previous scenario, previous stage, we actually have a secondary spawn point, which is off to the right hand side, to the east side. The footage passed over it a second ago, but you'll see it in a few more minutes here. So we don't need to worry too much about retreating our units, then having to maneuver them back into position again and taking a lot of time. The secondary spawn point that's already on the east side basically allows us to keep up the pressure in this scenario. So the strategy that I'm going for here is quite similar in the first stage. We're going to go around to the west side, put pressure on the far flank, and try to knock out the entrenched units as fast as possible. In this scenario, we have an AI player with us that's going to be helping a lot. Helping a lot in the sense that they get access to quite a lot of units. I think it's like a full regiment in terms of size, a full regiment like what we have available to us. And they're going to be constantly putting pressure and units against the entrenched positions on the points here. So we're going to be relying on them to keep that pressure up whilst we go around the far flank and get in behind and start getting all the kills. So here at this southern point here, I'm approaching it from the south side. We've got good cover in this forest and tree line here. Had the recon unit out in front, already lighting it up. And our AI units, since they're quite close to us, since we spawned together at this spawn point here in the south, they're also pouring in tons of fire into the enemy. So this point here is usually a cakewalk. There's no problems in taking this southern point here. Now, one thing to note is that the enemy reinforcement zones, the deployment zones, are to the west of all the points along this highway, which is quite similar to the previous stage. So in conducting our flanking maneuver in this scenario, we're going to have to keep an eye on those deployment zones on the west side, because if their reinforcements spawn in, they're going to be behind us and on our flank, and things can get really dicey. In fact, there's a really big fight that's going to happen in this video here that I'm going to commentate on, and it was one of the largest groups that I've seen spawn in terms of waves on this scenario, and yeah, it was a pretty good fight. Probably one of the better performances that I've had so far in this game. So yeah, we're moving in, infantry in the front to clear out the small little village that was there on the point, tanks in support. Now, because we've bought all the extra deployment points, I'm able to deploy all of my units in my regiment and keep them on the field. So we've got everything deployed, including anti-air. As I mentioned before, it's only in this scenario that I've seen the enemy deploy air assets, usually in the form of attack helicopters. So that's why I'm bringing the AA on along with the whole force that we've deployed here. But in this run, we got kind of lucky with the rolls. The enemy didn't deploy any attack helicopters. But it's good practice to have some, especially if you're brand new to the scenario and you don't know what's going on. Just keeping on standby is always a good thing. Now, as per usual, just constantly using off-map abilities for fire support. Just the same as the previous stage. Just want to keep that constant steady barrage on the points. Even though we can't see the enemy, we do know that there's something there. And even though the fire may not be as accurate, any damage is better than no damage. So I'm trying to be careful with microing my attack helicopters there. Got too close to the deployment zone, which you can see on the left side of the screen there. there's an entrenched mechanized infantry platoon there that took a couple of shots at the attack helicopters, but they're okay. No hits connected. So we got the recon pushed up into the tree line, the rest of our infantry and tanks rolling up behind it, and now we're gonna start putting pressure on these 2 points that are right there. So whilst we're conducting this maneuver, I'm always keeping an eye on that western flank there, and I have to pay attention to the radio intercepts, because the moment that a radio intercept comes in, I've got to make sure that I double check that they're not approaching us from this spawn point here. The other enemy deployment zone is further up north of the screen right now. So yeah, we're just taking our time here. Even though we're trying to blitz our way to the very end and make it a first phase win, you gotta be steady with how you approach it, right? Because if you just rush in, you will get bogged down, because there's a lot of entrenched enemy units across the entire map here, and if you just go head on, it will be very costly. I'm not saying that it can't be done, it can most definitely be done, especially on the lower difficulties, but we're looking for efficiency in this run through here. So we're taking some casualties and damage here, and I'm doing the same strategy as I did before in the first phase. We brought the supply and logic trucks up forward with us, and we're just going to be using the supplies from there to replenish and repair our units here. Then just keep up the pressure and not have to always retreat in order to resupply or redeploy. Now I'm taking my recon units out just to put them in the tree line off to the left flank there, because we already got the radio intercept that an enemy wave has spawned. I don't think that this wave is the one that comes to attack us. I may be wrong, but we shall see. But yeah, it's always good, just good practice. Just to send the recon off to the flank, keep an eye out on that approach vector there.
Zone captured.
And if the mobile units do come, we are pivoting everything to deal with the mobile units, because the entrenched units don't move. Just the same as the last stage and in pretty much the entire game. If there is an entrenched unit, the only thing they usually do is that if they are completely outflanked and taking a lot of damage, they would rotate on their position, but they won't maneuver to try to pursue or attack us. So there's my recon unit who's pushed up to the deployment zone, and we spotted enemy artillery that wasn't there previously. So we're maneuvering the attack helicopters now, since they're much faster than everybody else. They move in and attack. I'm keeping my men here on this tree line because I'm just resupplying that tank platoon and pulling out my mechanized infantry that went into cap the Cambria West point, just so that I get everyone a little bit more organized, concentrate a little bit more, and then push it. There's a slight misplay here. I forgot to embark the mech infantry, so they're not keeping up with the tanks, and the tanks just roll right into the middle point. So some micro mistakes here, but we're behind them, so we're getting tons of damage, and they're still yet to properly react to us. Here's the attack helicopters getting some good hits on enemy artillery. There's the mechanized infantry that's dug in. We can't fully identify it yet because they're too far. Okay, now they are. But we used our superior range, knocked out the enemy artillery, and now I'm going to resupply the attack helicopters with the logic trucks. Now I'm pretty sure that this right here is the big counterattack. So 7 to 9 platoons are coming in to hunt us down. And yeah, it's going to be one hell of a fight. So what you're seeing here, these airstrikes, this is the AI calling it in. So yeah, the AI player that's with you on this stage, they have quite a lot at their disposal. They have a pretty sizable force, and they have quite a decent amount of call-ins. And as you can see there on the west side, that's the enemy reinforcements mobile group that's just spawned in. The AI is pretty bad in terms of the maneuvering. It's AI after all. So they're running around in circles now at the beginning when they spawn in, but they're about to concentrate up, and they're gonna come right at us. And on this flank, well, they are on our flank, and they do outnumber us by a decent margin. So we're gonna have to play our cards very carefully here. So I'm kiting with my recon units here, making sure that they don't get spotted, because I need them to keep eyes on all these units for as long as possible. Because what I'm going to do here is I'm now maneuvering all my tanks and infantry into this tree line that's right here in the middle. And I only have one infantry unit that's entrenched right now. The rest aren't going to have enough time to get themselves entrenched. But these are all veteran units. These are all veteran units in a tree line, and we've got recon line of sight on the enemy. They don't see us. So we've got a ton of advantages on our side. And the enemy has to cross over this open field to engage us. Now, this is the AI doing AI things, of course. If it was smart, it would have moved all of his units further up north a little bit into that forest area, and then try to attack us along that short stretch where there isn't that much open ground to cross. But yeah, there's limitations to the game. You can't program everything. And there's only one developer for this game. I'm pretty sure it was only one guy that made the whole game. So yeah. My recon units got spotted there, but that's alright. We've got eyes on pretty much the entire enemy column that's coming towards us. Most of our units are now set up in that tree line. We're putting in tons of fire. And now we just have to sit, wait, and pray that the veterancy and the cover and the position that we have here will prevail. Because I really don't want to have to do a full-on retreat at this point. Because if I do that, we are not completing this phase in one go. We're not completing this stage in this one phase. We would be wasting too much time trying to have to redeploy. We have to pull everybody back into the deployment zone. So yeah, we're staying here and we're gonna put up the fight. So calling in off map, as much off map as we can, more artillery. So one of my tank platoons there, they were almost completely wiped out, and I really wanted to save their veterancy, so I retreated that. But the rest of the regiment is gonna stay put and give it their all. So we got a lot of good heavy artillery fire here into that blob, and now I'm pulling back my second tank platoon because they're pretty shot up as well. But we're drawing them right into the mechanized infantry. So as they get to closer range, our infantry start performing a little bit better. And there we go. That's pretty much it. The entire enemy attack is wiped out. Thing to note about the anti-air units that we have, the Shilkas, they can also be pretty good at killing infantry. So they're not just limited to pure anti-air. They can help support you in ground tactical situations. So as you can see here on the right side, that's the secondary deployment zone I was talking about earlier, and that's where we're getting our replenished tank platoons from, so they don't have to travel that far forward. Now we're just mopping up here, one last tank platoon. After we mop this up, then we're moving forward into the north. We've got 8 minutes 40 seconds left. There's a concentration of points up in the north in a village where it's an urban environment with lots of entrenched enemy units. It's a really tough nut to crack, but we're going to try our very best here to break through that. So now I'm consolidating all of my forces. Our supply truck is about to run out of supplies here, so we're going to have to just move forward with whatever we have. And anybody that needs repairs and resupplies, we're just going to have to retreat and then deploy them from the secondary zone to our right. So you can see on the right side of the screen here, the AI is now redeployed its forces. It's now putting pressure onto the northern points that we have yet to capture. A lone platoon gets caught out in the open and completely destroyed by our vetted attack helicopters. They didn't stand a chance. So once again, we're trying to approach it from the far left western flank here. get around the entrenched positions, and then infiltrate the urban center. Push in slowly with our infantry. Trying to use that the trees that are along that road there as cover. Break line of sight. What happens here is that my recon unit spots all these units up here, and everyone just starts shooting. I would have preferred to have gotten into this forest further north and then continue slowly across the northern approach. But since we're already engaged here and the enemy is coming out towards us, this was that radio intercept a minute ago of another mobile wave. But you know, they're out in the open, crossing, trying to assault us, and we've got all our units lined up along good cover. We've got recon line of sight on them, they don't. Yeah, only one way that fight was gonna go. So now we've got all our replenished tank platoons here, along with the infantry, and now we will make our big push. Slight misplay with the attack helicopters there, pushed them too far forward, and they got hit pretty bad. So a small little mechanized assault to objective hotel here. Get about halfway before I disembark the mechanized infantry, because we want to get close in order to get all their weapons deployed effectively. So I risk having them mounted for the first part of the engagement, try to get them across as fast as possible. One of them takes a lot of damage though, so I have to retreat them out of there. But the second platoon gets in, and now we're maneuvering off there to the north end of these 4 points. We want to try and knock out the entrenched positions at Voktoy North, the northernmost point that you see on the screen here, because their units are covering all the units to the south. So any attack on these southern points here means we're going to be under constant fire from whoever's at the back there. So to make it easier on ourselves and the AI, we're trying to unhinge that position over there. Now, one thing to note is that if you follow the lines here of the points, you only really need to get Voktoy West. I don't know how to pronounce that, but the point that's in the middle here, middle to the south, to the right of hotel. If you capture that, you disconnect the two last points. And what I mentioned in the previous stages is that if you manage to neutralize it, if you're playing for a two-phase scenario, you intend to complete it in 2 phases and you're not trying to rush the way that I'm trying to do here. If you can just get this point here, if you neutralize those points, when the next phase starts, no enemy units are going to spawn there. No entrenched enemy units are going to be present. It will be just empty territory for you to just walk in and take. So some forward-thinking strategy there regarding how to play long-term operations and scenarios. But of course here in this attempt we're trying to get all the way to the end. So trying to, now we're conducting our main assault into the north point here. Try to get rid of all the entrenched units there. The AI is going to be helping out a lot in a few minutes here. They're going to be putting the most pressure on west and east. Another misplay here. I sent my recon unit too far forward into the city. They run right into enemy infantry. That's alright. So we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. At this point, I was thinking to myself, I'm probably not going to be able to make it because we don't really have that much time left. And there's still a lot of enemy infantry that's dug in into the town that's in front of us here. You see all the off-map artillery pouring in here. I've got enough time and enough resources to make one last play. And that's what I'm going to try to do here. I don't have all of my units that I would like to have, but we just have to make do with what we've got. So we've cleared out the northern point. Our tanks rolled through the town, wiped out everybody. This isn't the most efficient use of tanks. Usually you don't want them engaged with infantry in an urban environment. But one of my infantry platoons is still being redeployed from the secondary zone. And the other infantry platoon you can see moving into the middle here, he had to resupply. So yeah, we've got 1 minute and 25 seconds left. And I'm just going all in now. So as you see here, because we flipped point west, point east, and the next stage point is neutralized. So all white now. Now I get really greedy here, or should I say more desperate, and I make a really bad play. I send the attack helicopters here into the final stage, thinking it could like overwhelm everybody, but they just immediately get slaughtered. So that was a pretty big misplay. Now I was under the impression that if a unit gets wiped out like that, you lose all the veterancy. But what I see here is that it only knocks down the veterancy value by 1 level. So you don't lose everything. So the game's a little bit lenient in that regard. So we got less than 60 seconds for a play here. We're trying to wait to like get everyone up, but I'm just gonna have to go with the recon, 1 tank platoon and 1 mech infantry platoon. And just try and make a play for it. And what I said in the previous video regarding how the game calculates the victory points, or at least the capture of positions and points, you don't need to fully capture it in order to have it considered taken. So all we need to do is just get some of our boys into that zone and start the capture process. And if the game finishes whilst we're mid-capture, it will still give us the objective in the final after-action report. So I'm going all in here with 25 seconds left to play. AI calling in airstrike here, so it's going to be really danger close. I called in heavy artillery as well, so our units are going to take some friendly fire here, but something we're going to have to risk. And we actually managed to pull it off. It was the first time on this difficulty that I've been able to finish this stage in one phase. So I was very happy with that. And in terms of our kill-death ratio here, we're looking pretty good. Not just in this scenario, but overall in the whole operation thus far. We got pretty good trades all across the board. So yeah, here's all the kill feed. That's our units, the AI units, the enemy as well. Very long list. It was one hell of a fight. But yeah, I will see y'all in the next stage then.